You alright?
It's okay, she's friendly. A phrase which sends shivers up the spines of many dog owners. Why? Because what this phrase actually translates to is, I have no control over my dog. When you hear this phrase, it usually means you and your dog are about to be accosted by an off-leash, usually very socially rude dog who the owner cannot recall. Why is it a problem for your friendly dog to go running up to other people and other dogs? Did you hear the audio at the start of this video? That's why. That audio is the sound of the dog owner, left having a panic attack and an emotional breakdown after a "don't worry, she's friendly" incident during a training session last week. An incident which is becoming more and more common and can leave some very lasting and serious consequences. Firstly, let's address the legalities and the legislation surrounding out-of-control dogs, and then we're going to take a look at the body cam footage and have a bit more of a chat about how incidents such as this can have a seriously detrimental effect on both the unexpected dog and human in scenarios such as this, and why there is so much awareness trying to be brought about to reduce the "don't worry, my dog's friendly" incidents. Okay, legalities and legislations first. Under the 2010 Control of Dogs Act, a dog is deemed to be out of control if it is not being kept under control effectively and consistently by the proper person, and its behaviour gives rise to alarm or apprehensiveness on the part of any individual. This goes on to state that apprehensiveness may be as to A, the individual's own safety, B, the safety of some other person, or C, the safety of an animal other than the dog in question. What this means is that it is against the law and you risk prosecution if you allow your dog to be dangerously out of control. The law applies to all dogs in public places, in private places, and in the owner's home. Your dog is considered dangerously out of control if it injures someone or makes someone worried that it might injure them, someone with them, or an animal with them. If you are found to have a dangerously out of control dog, you may face unlimited fines, 6 months in prison, be banned from keeping dogs in the future, and face your dog being destroyed. If your dog injures someone, then prison penalties increase to up to 5 years, and if your dog injures an assistance dog, then you can face up to 3 years in prison. This information you can go and check yourself on the government websites. So, that's the law. Now, let's take a look at the footage and talk about the other lasting implications which your friendly dog may leave behind. Okay, so let me talk you through what you're about to see. The dog in the video is a rescue Cane Corso who had a tough start in life and missed out on early socialisation and training. Remy also has several medical issues, which includes hip dysplasia, arthritis, and she's not long completed a long recovery after major surgery on both back legs to repair ruptured cruciates. The guardian herself isn't a confident person in general. She's got limited experience in regards to dog training and handling, and she has a powerful breed of dog, and these are all reasons why she's working with me in the first place. One of her biggest fears and concerns was being charged at by off-leash dogs, conflict occurring, and her dog, being the Cane Corso, taking the blame. So, you can see here we're on a green area near the car park at a local woodland walk, which is a nice quiet public space which I often use for training, where we are ironically working on some recall training. In a minute, you'll see the two dogs appear from nowhere. Apologies, the footage isn't the best, but you'll get the gist. Remy gave them a growl and a snarl and they moved on. I shout to the owners who are on the other side of the car park and up the hill to recall their dogs. You'll hear them shout and the dogs don't respond. The man then says to us, "They won't bother you," which is the "don't worry, they're friendly," just rephrased. I tell them the dogs did bother us, they apologise and move on with their day, probably not giving the incident a second thought. And I'll get back to that. Let's just watch for a second.
Oh, shit. Whoa, where the did they come from? I don't know. Can you call your dogs back, please? Wow, what's happened? What to do, stop putting food on the floor and encourage that sniffing, because remember that scent works, that starts to lower that arousal. That's it. Well, they won't bother you. Well, they did.
So as I said, the man told us to hold on and he went to his dogs who followed him down the path, and the woman gave us her apologies as she followed on past. Now back to the dogs. As you can see, there was no fight, no physical injuries, and the two labs had charged in quite rudely and very abruptly. Remy gave a snarl, bared her teeth, telling them to do one, and they went, "Oops, sorry pal," and they moved on. No harm done, right? Well, wrong. Let's go back to the video.
You alright? Give me her. Give me her.
This is the moment where Remy's owner broke down. I took Remy from her to stop Remy from becoming distressed and called her partner from the car to give her the support she needed. Now remember back to that audio you heard at the beginning of the video. This was the impact which this incident had on this owner.
You alright?
Now then, going back to where I said that the owners walked away and probably didn't give the incident a second thought. That's genuinely what happens in most cases like these, and that's not because they meant to upset anyone or because they were trying to be assholes. It's simply because most people don't understand the impact that their dog's actions can have on someone else or on someone else's dog, even when there's no physical altercation that's occurred. Which is why, with the permission of the owner, I'm sharing this very personal moment, because it is in a lot of cases that lack of understanding which causes this seeming lack of empathy. Now, there are many reasons why someone else might not want to be approached by your dog, regardless of how friendly they are. And it is their right to share the public space without being bothered by your dog. Some of the more obvious reasons may be that the human is scared of dogs, and just because they have their own dog with them, that doesn't mean that they aren't scared of strange dogs or a particular breed of dog. The human may be inexperienced or a novice or anxious handler. The human may have an injury or a limb weakness of some sort, which makes the dog-to-dog interactions more difficult or much more painful for them. They may just not want to greet your dog. The dog may be reactive or aggressive towards other dogs. The dog may be injured, have painful conditions, or be recovering from surgery. The dog may be a new rescue dog just finding his feet in a whole new environment with new handlers, or may have even only recently entered the UK. The dog may be anxious or a fearful dog. It may be a young puppy who has limited experiences of other dogs, or the owner and dog may simply be training together and not want to be interrupted. These are but a few reasons why your dog's approach may not be wanted and may be detrimental to both the human and dog whose personal space your dog has just thrust himself into. And in many of these scenarios, this interaction will be enough to cause a lasting negative impression on the dog, which in turn can escalate into anxieties, fears, reactivity and aggression. And this is also a very common cause of dog-to-dog issues, which we see where the young puppy at an impressionable age, who your friendly dog has just charged at, has become completely overwhelmed and consequently had the shit scared out of, and in that moment has learned a very valuable lesson, which is that other dogs are a threat, something which will then go on to impact that dog for the rest of its life. Single event learning is more common than you might think, and it is the formation of an association between the dog and an event after a single exposure. And this can be both positive and negative experiences. Think of the dog that once found half a ham sandwich under the bush on your walk, and now he checks that bush every single time he passes. That is single event learning. More commonly, you'll hear this term connected to fear or negative responses, where the dog forms an intense negative emotional reaction to a particular trigger. In this case, your "don't worry, he's friendly" dog. If your dog doesn't have a reliable recall, then they shouldn't be off leash in the first place, and you should be utilising a long line until you have trained and proofed a reliable recall with your dog. Calling out "my dog's friendly" isn't going to reduce the impact that your dog's actions have caused. And it is your legal and moral responsibility as a decent human being to ensure that your dog is kept under control for the safety and well-being of others and for your dog. Incidents such as this cause lasting effects on both the human and the dog, both mentally and often physically. So I'm going to wrap things up here, and I'm going to leave you with this takeaway. Your dog's actions should never become someone else's problem. No one should ever be made to feel like this.
You alright?